Hello, and welcome to the DTC Daily podcast. Every week, we interview some of the best e commerce founders and dive deep into their key growth drivers, uncovering actionable insights that you can implement in your business. But before we jump into today's conversation, a quick thank you to our friends at Saral. Most brands get influencer marketing wrong. They think paying a creator for a single post will spark a sales spike. That simply doesn't work. Successful brands like Graza, Obvi, and Hexclad are forging genuine partnerships. And that's where Saral comes in. It's your go-to platform for partnering with the right influencers, tracking results, and managing everything in one place. Book a demo at getsaral.com/demo, mention us, and get an extended free trial exclusive for our listeners.
So Laceeze, it's a niche sports product for children.
And what would you say is the one thing that's fueled this growth? You've been talking about the community a lot. Could you talk a little bit more about that? And what's that one main channel you say would be contributing to most of your sales currently?
I mean, the community is like super important. So at the start, where I said we bootstrapped, we were relying on getting the word out via social media. So we launched with a very, very modest marketing budget and an ambassador program.
Hey Emma, welcome to the DTC Daily podcast. Thank you so much for doing this. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. Yeah, it's really good to be here.
Awesome. So Emma, to get started, can you share a little bit about Laceeze and what inspired you to create the product?
Yes, so Laceeze, it's a niche sports product for children. It's in essence, it's a silicone band. It wraps around the outside of a sports shoe. It's worn by children predominantly playing sort of football, soccer, rugby, boots where they wear a molded or a studded shoe. And I'm a footy mum, so for an American audience, that's a soccer mum. I've got two boys; they're teens now, but so when we launched the company, I was always on the sidelines with them, watching them train and play their matches. And shoelaces for kids come undone all the time. And there was one particular evening where a young boy came and he had an elastic band just wrapped around his shoe. So we asked why, and one of the parents said to us, "It keeps the laces done up." So we watched that boy. And lo and behold, his laces stayed completely tied up for the whole training session, whereas my son and plenty of the others, they all came undone. So really, that was kind of like the spark of inspiration was that, one, could we create a product that is a solution to this problem and something that children will actually want to wear? And then two, can we make a brand and a business out of this? So that was really sort of the inspiration and where we've been.
Awesome. So what were the early days like when you just when you just started out? What did you guys first start doing? What was the marketing plan like? How did you guys approach launching the brand and then growing it?
So really, it was a bootstrapped business. So we didn't go out. There was no funding. We all just put some of our own money in just for the tooling. And we did have a bit of a problem initially. So we created a band and we got it out into the marketplace. So with our own contacts and where we are locally, there's a lot of football teams. So we started giving product to them, to their children to try. And it worked. And then a few weeks later, it was very wet in the UK. It's always wet in the UK. And it was very muddy. And the bands started to fail. So they were getting very wet, very muddy, and they were slipping. So it was just one of those horrendous moments where like we thought we had it, we've ordered product in, it didn't work. So we had to kind of go right back to the drawing board, start again, retool, refund, make the product bigger, put some ridges on the inside, just which stopped the slipping in the wet weather. which actually then became an advantage because it was the change of the design and the additional ribbing on the inside that we were able to get a patent for the product quite a few years later. So if we'd stayed with what we called Mark One laces, that wouldn't have been viable. So yeah, from kind of like what seemed like at the time was just an absolute disaster, it did come good. And then really like marketing, so we launched in 2017, and at that point, I don't even think we were running meta ads. So I don't think we started those for sort of a good sort of 6 to 12 months. So everything was kind of bootstrapped. This was just a bit of a hobby business, a kitchen table business, if you want to call it for that. And yeah, it wasn't until much later that we really kind of like kick-started it with advertising and pushing things a lot harder.
So what's been the journey like from, let's say, 2017 to now? Could you give us some perspective in terms of numbers, where you are, like, what's the growth been like?
Yeah, so I mean, the last 2 years have been massive. So my co-founder left the company in December 2022, and it was at that point that I kind of made a personal decision to just really see if I can take this brand, treat this like a grown-up business perhaps, and see how far we could take the brand. It was ticking along really, really nicely, and it was doing well, and we've got a really lovely community, which is what we really focused on at the very start. But so this year we're looking to do well. We're getting close to $1 million this year. So and we've literally doubled. So turnover in 2023, we doubled from 2022, and the same again this year. So it's definitely expanding. Just putting that right sort of focus and attention with the business. There's our kind of audience for Laceeze bands are children sort of between the ages probably 6 up to 12, 13. That's kind of what our core age is. So, every year there's a churn, there's people dropping off, not using our product anymore, but there's also a whole new, audience coming in. So it's just sort of kind of, we've been capitalizing that and just really kind of trying to build the community again and sort of selling the story.
And what would you say is the one thing that's fueled this growth? You've been talking about the community a lot. Could you talk a little bit more about that? And what's that one main channel you say would be contributing to, most of your sales currently?
Yeah, I mean, the community is like super important. So at the start, where I said we bootstrapped, we were relying on getting, the word out via social media. So we launched with a very, very modest marketing budget and an ambassador program. And we just reached out to people asking, parents like myself, like with children, would they like to become an ambassador? Now, it's a low ticket product. So we had the ability to send out quite a lot of product to people. So one pair of bands, it was costing us at the time, so the retail price was at sort of about $6 at the time for the product. So we could like easily send out 50 pairs a month to parents, and in return they were sharing the content, and we were giving back to them in terms of that we were really kind of giving a chance for their children to be put in the spotlight as well. And all parents want their children to shine, and they were able to do that through our ambassador program. But with that, we were able to really build the community as well. So to sort of sell that I'm a football mum, like I know what it's like to be on the sidelines when it's late at night and you just want to be at home and it's cold and you're on the sidelines. So I was really able to kind of like share their pain and their experiences because I was kind of living and breathing it myself as well.
So at what point did you realize that this is something that's working? Because as a founder, it's very easy to just say, okay, I'm just going to run meta ads, or I'm going to run Google ads, or I'm going to spend a lot of money on influencers and go down that route. At what point did you realize that, okay, this is something that's working, and maybe I don't need to invest a lot in meta or Google ads?
I'm not going to lie. We are now running meta ads. We're running Google ads, but at the time when we didn't really have any budget, we didn't have much choice, and everybody kept saying to me, well, you need to get a professional athlete to wear the bands, to endorse the bands. But actually that was one, we didn't have the budget to do that, but two, a lot of the professional athletes all have shoe contracts, so therefore they can't start putting a product over their shoes because it was just a massive conflict. So it really was, you kind of, it was something that we did, and we sort of chose to trial it, and it worked, and thank goodness it did work, because by default, because we didn't have that sort of that budget to really run very hard with advertising at the very beginning. And we were absolutely inundated with inquiries of parents wanting their children to be ambassadors. So I think it was at that point, the initially at launch, we kind of ran what I would call an ambassador campaign. So it was something that we promoted, we sent it out on our newsletters, and we ran it. So, a time limited, you have to apply by X date. Honestly, we had so many inquiries that it actually took so long to sift through them. And I really think it was at that point, actually, that we realized that this could work without throwing money at, tens of thousands of pounds at one particular influencer. We were able to just kind of really key down on just macro influencers who were talking the same language as us, same language as sport parents, and promoting something that they believed in.
Yeah. So you spoke about this program, right? So how does it work? Like, how did they enroll into it? Once they enroll into it, what do they need to do? What do they get out of it? Could you just go into a little more detail of exactly how the program works?
Yeah, so like I said, initially we did a campaign, so it was a time limited application, just very simple, like type form type application. And then once we collated all of the applicants, we were just able to go back through, start looking at people's handles and just seeing what type of content that they were creating, obviously frequency of content. And for us, it was just really important that the ambassadors, that the parents sort of aligned with our values. And our values are that, grassroots is at the heart of everything we do. We're champions for children's sport. So looking for those sort of alignments and thinking back into the sort of early days, a lot of the parents were posting more sort of photos, whereas now we've seen a massive shift to video content, especially with TikTok and Reels. But it was really looking at sort of the frequency and the quality of the photos that they were sharing. We then reached out to them, and we would send them a pair of Laceeze bands. So they would tell us what colour they wanted. And that was all just processed through our website, like a free of charge order. So we could capture their address and everything that way. And then really it was down to them. So we did give some guidelines, but because it's children, we didn't want to be really strict and say you must post X amount of times per day or per week, and we just asked them to include our hashtag, and really it was down to them. And I think we worked on very much like a pressure off, because it just wasn't fair to pile steep pressure onto parents and children. Everybody's busy, it's stressful enough when you're running kids around to football training and things. And some were super, super engaged. And I'm sure, people that run influencer campaigns are going to know the same. Some are amazing, some aren't so good. But it didn't really matter too much, just from the fact that it was a low ticket item. So if they didn't post, or if they only posted once, it wasn't the end of the world. And it was more about getting, quite a quantity of product out there in order to get the content. And obviously the flip side of that is that we got some really, really good user generated images, and we were able to reuse that. So again, looking at sort of not having a huge marketing budget, we started to get this bank of photography and videography that we didn't have to pay for.
Yeah, I was actually going through your Instagram earlier today, and I did notice that you've got a lot of people that have tagged you. And it's very difficult generally to get so much user generated content, but I think you guys have done a fabulous job. Were you giving the mothers anything else apart from the bands, or was it like a media kit, a press kit? Were there other products that you were giving out, or was it just the bands?
Yeah, so initially we kind of set almost like a point chart. So if they posted, X amount of times, then they would get so many points. And then as we were bringing out more product, which sits under our Defiance range, we were able to offer that to the parents as kind of like a rewards. But very quickly, it became apparent that we've got a lot of ambassadors, a lot of product out there, and that was really, really hard to manage. So we just decided just to kind of forget about that and just get the bands out there, because what I would say, although it is I'm saying it's kind of a really great way of getting free user generated content, and it's great from a low cost marketing perspective. It is quite as you start getting more and more ambassadors, it's quite time consuming, and you need to be quite organized with it. So that's, I would say, probably one of the biggest challenges.
So now what's the journey going forward? You've come to $1 million, and you've relied a lot on this community. But now from 1 million to 10 million, what are the plans? Is it going to be building out this community? Do you expect this community to grow and go or into a different direction? What are you looking to do, or is it now that you're going to expand into other media channels?
The community is really, really important. I believe that that's where we started, and that's what we've built the business on. And I feel like the voice of the company needs to remain the same. My boys are growing up now. They're teenagers. One's 16, one's 18. So I'm not that kind of parent on the sidelines with small children anymore. But I believe that the brand still needs to have that emphasis. Now, I appreciate that as the company grows and it continues to grow, it becomes more difficult because I can't be that sort of voice all the time. But I think it's just super important that the team members that we have, they all understand. And I'm really, really fortunate actually that a few of my team members are all parents with children who play sports. So immediately the values align. And I just think that as brands grow, I think sometimes it's easy to forget sort of where you came from. And for us as well, we went really hard with ambassadors initially. And then that kind of sort of period in the middle, we still had ambassadors, but we didn't push the program as hard. And then this year, especially where we've been looking to grow in the US, it's been kind of like, right, let's go back to what we did at the start because it worked. So if it worked in the UK, there's absolutely no reason we don't think why it can't work in the US. And we'll look at it again, as we expand into other territories, just because we can tap into the parents and, their pain points, really. So I'm not going to say, we're growing, the company's growing, and we're having to, push our marketing, into all different avenues. But for me, just to try and keep the core value of community and its parents of children who play sport, that's so important. Even as we go from 1 million to 5, where possible, we need to keep that.
Awesome. And you mentioned the move to the US, and you're trying to expand into that market. Have you launched the community there already? Are you looking to do that?
We are just starting. So we have had some really, really good impact with a couple of, a mum that writes a magazine for other mums, thriving mums in California. So she had some product, loved it, created a couple of reels, and immediately we've had back very similar to what we had in the UK, people coming back to us saying, love your product, can we try it, can we test it? So we just, it's sort of the initial sort of seeds are going out there now, and then it will just sort of grow from there. But we're a lot more prepared for faster growth in terms of that. So we've got a lot more sort of, we're using a bit of software now to track the user generated content. We've gamified some of the challenges that we're doing with them. So I think as we really do grow the ambassador program in the States, we know our values and we know how to portray that to people. So we've already won there. We just need to find the ambassadors, and we're ready to go.
Awesome. And if you had to give one actionable takeaway to the founders that are watching this podcast, what would you say if they wanted to go out and start a community? What would be the best way to get started? Any advice you'd like to give?
So I would say to just grow your social media and just keep sharing your values with your community. You don't need to initially just go out and do the campaign straight away. I know I probably keep repeating it, but I think it's really, really important that you know what your true values are of your brand, and you're able to share that with your audience. And I think from that, your ambassadors will find you. Your followers will actually, have the same values as you. So, for me, it works. We've got a lower ticket item. I know it's for people that are, selling products. They're at $100 plus. They're going to know that some of these, things that I'm saying are going to be more tricky. But that doesn't stop you from being able to grow a community, as long as you can share your values and let people know who you are and what you stand for.
And looking back at your journey, is there anything that you would have done differently to get to where you are? Is there anything you would like to change?
Well, that's a good question. I think, a lot of the things that have happened, I probably, my co-founder exiting, that was a difficult time in the business, and something I probably wouldn't want to go through again, and some of the issues we had at the very start with manufacturing. So the only thing I would say is probably just test more, slow down a little bit. But I do think that everything that has happened, we've kind of looked through the lens as to why they've happened, and tried to come out the other side as a stronger company from it. So there are things that I would have preferred didn't happen, but I don't think there's any brand story where everybody just says it went like that without any issue along the way. So yeah, really, they are just part of the story.